If you're buying a home in Vancouver, there's a very real chance you're underestimating your true cost by $50,000 to $150,000, and most buyers don't realize it until it's too late. If you've been Googling things like the cost of buying a home in Vancouver or closing costs in BC, I'm going to walk you through everything clearly in one place. I'm Nancy Chi, and we work with high-income professionals and families buying across Metro Vancouver, and even very smart, financially savvy buyers miss some of these numbers, not because they didn't do their homework, but because no one actually laid it out for them. So let's fix it. Quick note. If you want me to map out your exact numbers based on your price point and goals, we offer a free buyer's consultation. Link is below, no pressure. Let's start with the big one, property transfer tax in BC. This is usually the largest closing cost, and it hits hard. 1% on the first $200,000, 2% up to $2 million, and 3% above that. And over $3 million, it goes to 5%. So if you're buying a $2 million home, which is very normal for a Vancouver home here, you're looking at about $38,000 in tax alone. At $2.5 million, around $53,000. And at $3.5 million, we're talking about $111,000. This number alone catches a lot of buyers off guard. If you're even thinking about buying a new build, pay very close attention to this part. GST is 5% on top of your purchase price. So a brand new $2 million home, that's $100,000 extra just on GST. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer, as of March 2026, the government introduced a rebate. But here's a part most people don't realize. The rebate phases out completely above $1.5 million. So you get the full 5% GST of any homes under $1 million and a partial rebate between $1 million to $1.5 million. So realistically, if you want to buy a detached house in Vancouver, you're pretty much going to be paying the full GST amount. And this is one of the biggest reasons some families choose resale instead of completely brand new. Now, for other costs, you're going to need a real estate lawyer or a notary public to close on your purchase. This is non-negotiable in BC. They're the ones that help with the transfer of funds and registering you on title as the new owners for the home. Budget somewhere around $1,500 to $3,000, sometimes a bit more depending on the complexity of the case. If there's anything unusual about like the title, strata documents, or transaction structure, costs could go up. I have a trusted network of legal professionals I refer my clients to, not because I get anything out of it, but because I've seen the difference it makes choosing the right team on your side, and that's part of what working with us looks like. Home inspection fees typically run between $600 to $800 for most homes. Obviously, larger properties or older properties could cost more. And I know in competitive markets, some buyers have been tempted to skip this step to make their offer more attractive. I get it. But for families, especially if you have kids and planting your roots down, I always recommend protecting yourself with an inspection where possible. A good inspector could uncover a serious problem hiding behind freshly painted walls, and catching that early is always worth the cost of an inspection. There are creative ways to structure offers that include inspections even in a competitive situation. That's a conversation we can have together. Depending on your financing, your lender may require an independent appraiser for the property, especially on higher value homes or if you're putting less than 20% down. Appraisals in Metro Vancouver typically run around $300 to $600. It's not a huge cost, but it's one more thing to account for, and the timing matters. Sometimes it can affect your financing timeline. Now, if you're buying a strata building, a condo, a townhouse, a lot of what's available in Vancouver, you need to factor in strata fees. These vary enormously from building to building. One of the biggest ways we protect our clients is by digging into the strata documents before you even commit, because it's not just the monthly strata fees, it's what's coming. Roof replacements, plumbing, elevators, these costs gets passed down to the owners. and they're called special levies, and they're not small numbers. Let me give you a quick example. I had a client recently looking at a condo that looked perfect. Great price, great condition, but when we reviewed the strata documents, there was a pending special levy close to $50,000 per unit. That's the kind of thing you don't see online, but it completely changes the decision. Okay, I want to quickly touch on the stuff that's not a closing cost, but absolutely need to be in your budget. Moving a family across the city or from out of the province, budget around $3,000 to $10,000, depending on how much you have and how far you're going. Then there's what I call the first 90-day costs, the things every family ends up spending on when they move into a new home. You may want brand new window coverings, new appliances if they weren't included, changing up the light fixtures, a few coats of paint. Painting the house makes a complete difference and it really freshens the place up. You may want to upgrade the security system, changing the locks and the alarms, and landscaping. So for most families, this quietly adds up to $10,000 to $30,000 before they even realize it. So plan for it up front. Don't let it be a stressor after the fact. If this has been helpful so far, just hit like. It helps more people actually see this because honestly, most people have no idea that these costs exist. So let's put it together. Property transfer tax around $38,000, legal fees around $2,000, home inspection around $600, appraisal around $400, and moving in your first 90 days around $15,000 to $30,000. You're looking at a minimum of $55,000 to $70,000 in costs on top of your down payment and purchase price. And for a brand new home at the same price, add $100,000 on top for GST. And that number climbs into a different category depending on the purchase price. This is why I always tell my clients, know your numbers before you fall in love with a property, not after. Quick note, tax rules and programs do change, so always confirm with your mortgage broker, lawyer, or accountant. My role is to make sure you know what to look for so nothing surprises you. Buying in Vancouver is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll make, and the difference between a stressful experience and a confident one comes down to preparation. If you want clarity on your numbers, your strategy, and your timing, email us to book a consultation at info@nancychi.com or use the calendar link below. We'll map out everything out for you step by step. And if you found this helpful, please share it with someone you know who's thinking about buying a home here in Vancouver. It could genuinely save them a lot of money on closing date. I'm Nancy Chi, your Vancouver realtor. I'll see you on the next one.